What is the fundamental counting principle? The fundamental counting principle is a way to count the number of outcomes for two or more events. So for example, if event A can happen in m number of ways, m ways, and another event number 2 can happen in n number of ways. If these two events will happen together, then the number of ways is basically m times n ways. So the fundamental counting principle allows us to get the total possible outcomes by multiplying the number of ways for the first event to happen and the number of ways of the second event to happen. And that's m times n basically. So how do we illustrate this principle? For example, if you toss a coin and you roll a die after that, then that means the total number of possible outcomes for these two events happening together is you have two possible outcomes for the coin, that is the either get a head or a tail. And when you roll a die, so this is a die, when you roll a die, that means you could either get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So you have 6 possible outcomes. So together, these two events can have 2 times 6 possible outcomes, and this is equal to 12 outcomes, or 12 number of ways. Okay? So how do we see this? Let's take a look at if we toss a coin. Again, we either get a head or a tail. So if we get a head on the first, then if we roll the die, then we could either have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. In the same way that if you get a tail in the second, or if you get a tail instead rather, then you can have also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And as you can see, this will list down all the combinations that you can have. It could be an H1, an H2, an H3, an H4, an H5, and H6. And in the same way, you have T1, you have T2, you have T3, you have T4, you have T5, and then you have T6. So all in all, if you count all the outcomes coming from this tree diagram, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that's basically 2 times 6 equals 12, coming from the fundamental counting principle. Okay, that's it.